Hey there, welcome back. I'm Kelly D, and this is Dr. B. And if hopefully you have listened to the last two episodes that we've done, and we've figured out the word that that,
Finally, I had to
that
like
Brienne was
pull it out.
chatting about. It was crux, CRUX. So what it is through the dictionary, the decisive or most important point at issue. So what I was saying was the crux of the whole thing, which is the base foundation, is what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Brienne has a story that I have not heard because we said we have to start to record because we started getting to another conversation again that we always do. So she's
Yeah.
going to share how this whole um language
Hmm.
episode came up and how I was on we were both on the same wavelength just differently. So
Yep.
she's going to share that now.
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say before I dive into that, is just this like, thank you guys for being here. We're now on like episode 14 or 15 at this point, and
Yeah.
Kelly and I just literally had a vision and we just dove right in. So we are finding our voices, if you will. We are finding out
Yeah,
how this whole thing works.
for
And
sure.
we are finally getting to the point where we stopped talking off camera and we're just now recording everything.
Yeah.
Because we used to talk and talk and talk and be like, so what do we want to do, and then be like, "Eh, eh, eh." Now we're just going to talk to y'all. So
Yeah.
hopefully you're still with us and that this is your style and you're rolling with us. But yeah, okay, so my husband yesterday, so it's kind of a funny story actually, but then we'll get to the language piece. So I'm sitting in here and I'm working. I got this thing coming up tomorrow. Then so I was like working Saturday night. He had been somewhere and he came home and he's like, "Hey, I got you an early Mother's Day gift." And I was like, "Huh? What? When's Mother's Day?" Right? Like this whole thing. So he hands me this book and he says, "I had a patient who brought this book in and I was asking her about it. And as soon as she started telling me about it, I thought like, oh my gosh, my wife would love that." So he hands me this book. This book is like dictionary size, right? But like it's bendable, readable, like pretty easy. Like the format's well done. But it's one of those books where you don't have to like read cover to cover. You can just like thumb, and where you land is like, a page or two of information on a specific thing. Love it. So this morning I was like, cool, I'm gonna open. Oh well, so we're playing Foursquare in the house yesterday. The three of us, we play Three Square instead of Foursquare. And I had my coffee sitting up on the ledge by the couch, and the book, the brand new book, had only had it for like 20 minutes, was sitting on the ledge next to the coffee. Well, the ball hit the coffee, coffee spills all over the ledge, all down into the vent, and just the back few pages got coffee on them. And I was like, yeah, well, then it's officially mine because I love coffee and I love books. And now this is like all one thing. So that's the funny piece. But so this morning I'm thumbing, right? And I get to human language. And I was like, oh, interesting. So I'm reading
So
through this.
describe your thumbing though.
Oh, yeah, you guys, this is a cool thing I've been doing with books for the last handful of years. I used to think that I had to read, front to back. Otherwise, Kelly, this idea of reading front to back, so 110% completion.
What? It
Oh
came
my
in
goodness.
again?
Oh, it came up again. So quite a few years ago, I had this book that each chapter really didn't necessarily one play off the other. They were kind of their own individual chapter, and you could probably do them in any order, any fashion, that sort of thing. And so I don't remember if somebody had told me to do this, if I started doing or what it was, but I would hold the book and I just set like a little intention that whatever I'm supposed to read or see or message I'm supposed to receive that day, I would land on. And then I would hold the book and I would thumb, and then where I would stop, boom, there's my like sometimes one sentence, and it was like, oh, and then sometimes it was like a few paragraphs or there was a little bit more to it. So it's like, or I felt like, oh, it's the beginning of a chapter, maybe I need to read the whole chapter. So I'd kind of go along those lines of using biofeedback to figure out what and how much I should read. So that's my thumbing. It's been amazing, you guys, because it's like I never feel any guilt for not reading an entire book. And I recognize that whatever I'm supposed to receive from that book, I'm going to receive on that day in that season of my life. Because it might be 2 years later that, I have books here, I have books there, I have books there. Like they're all over my house. And so I might walk in a room and be like, oh, I forgot about that book. And I pull it down and I'll ask myself, like, am I supposed to be in this book right now? Is there something in this book that's like a message for me? right? And so I'll
Mhm.
use that biofeedback. So it's been really great because it's this idea of like more supportive for me and my needs, and I have so many books and they can deliver different messages at different times, right? Because they all say something really cool and important.
And squirrel.
And squirrel. So anyway, so this morning I'm on human language. Shink. The
Yes.
reason this comes up is because Crux is not Canadian, which I would have just
Ooh,
assumed,
Ux.
right? You're saying it's British. I was reading this human language, and the human language was talking about history, and it was giving some examples in history of how, when there was a translator translating from Japanese to English in this specific, and I'm not going to give you the specifics, but they were
Oh, that's
translating,
interesting.
yeah, right? Because Kelly and I just did some work with some really cool folks out of Tokyo, and there was a translator, and we
Yeah,
were with her brother Carrie, and it was just
yeah.
amazing. But this the example was how the translator said X in English versus Y, what it was supposed to mean in Japanese, and how that actually created chaos in the world around. And again, I'm not going to tell like the history specifics, but it was like this idea of like the person speaking Japanese said one thing, but it was translated different. So it was understood differently. And then that caused
Kinda
chaos,
like
right?
the game Telephone. Remember that game?
Totally. Right. And so it's like,
Yeah.
at what point do, like, if I say something to my husband, who then tells my son, who then takes it to his teacher at school through that telephone, at what point did my actual meaning change? Maybe not at all. Maybe it
Because
totally did.
everybody has their own belief systems and their own agendas, that's why. Okay, go on.
No, no, no. Okay, no, I think everybody's gotten my point. I'm going to pull off of that. So, like, their own beliefs and their own agendas. So, if I'm the one receiving the message and I have a certain belief system based on whatever, I'm going to put my own spin on it, correct?
Yep,
Unless I'm literally looking at the person who originated the statement. I'm like, tell me more. I don't know what you mean by that. Or tell me what you mean by that. I'm
yep,
going to put my own belief on it, right?
yep. Your own perception.
And then, but then I'm going to go share that to someone else. And then
Yep,
now they're going to twist it a little bit 5 times to the left because they're going to put their own perception and belief system on it. And therefore it just keeps
exactly.
getting changed and it
Yep,
loses that authenticity that comes from that original statement, right?
correct.
Is that why we
So,
all could hear the same quote and you think
yeah,
of the quote differently than I think of the quote?
of
Then they think of the
course.
quote, then you think of the quote, right?
Of course,
Mhm.
because we all put our like how much baggage do we all have and positive, negative, right?
Lots.
We've got like I have belief systems from my parents, from my brother, from my sister, from my son, from my life experiences,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I'm going to interpret it what's happening in my life right now
Yes.
to the perception of where my head's at, where my heart's at, where I am at, and who I am, right? Whatever the
Yeah.
quote is.
That why horoscopes, no matter when you read them, you can always find something that's pertinent to you because you're pulling in what
Of
you want and
course.
like, yeah, like, oh yeah, that's totally me in my love life right now. This horoscope couldn't be more correct.
Mhm.
Because
Right?
you're going to twist it and make it yours, whether you realize it or not, because that's just how you're going to
It's all
manipulate it in your brain.
unconscious.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's why, like, we decided on this topic because of my of what I'm going through, what Brienne's going through, and what is happening like in both of our
Yes.
like in our businesses especially, they're really shifting and changing. And I'm glad because people are becoming more aware of who they are and who they want to
Hmm.
be.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's fantastic. Hence, we have to grow, right? We have
Oh,
to
absolutely.
evolve and shift and change. So yeah, I got off topic there, but
Yeah, but I
anywho.
like that because I like the idea you are speaking on business, but I can, some of our audience might not be business owners, and that's totally okay.
I'm
But
talking about life too.
yeah, like
With
as a
like with my
parent,
son, right?
yeah, as a
Yeah,
parent, if I have a certain belief and I'm going to project that on my child, then in
hmm,
some level I'm giving them that belief. And is that a strong belief I have? And why do I have that belief? And why do I want my child to have that belief versus maybe holding space for them and saying, well, here's my belief, but what do you think? right?
Right.
So I think we can like
Exactly.
take this in so many obviously life, right? All the different things of life and what it means to, but one, I think what I could say is from early on and kind of my naive days is I didn't think about what I thought about. I didn't think about my belief system. I didn't reflect on it. I didn't
No,
analyze it.
because
I
we didn't
just
know.
believed it. So,
We just didn't know, right?
there's people I'm imagining you might be sitting here listening to this and being like, well, I didn't even know, like, I don't know what my beliefs are, or I haven't really thought about my beliefs and what do I believe and how do I want that to like affect my life in a positive way or affect the way I
Yeah.
parent or the way I wifey or the way I show up for work or whatever that is, right?
Or short for myself,
Mhm.
right? Not giving
Mhm.
myself
Yeah.
enough care. Why don't I believe, like, why is one of my core beliefs that I shouldn't have self-care? Like in
Mhm.
my case, as you know, I just came back from yoga. I've got my beautiful yoga outfit on. And it's important for me
Mhm.
I have to go to yoga at least 5 days a week. I have a severe knee injury and I don't care. I push through it. Is
Mhm.
that stupid? Yes. But
Spoken from the
so I
clinician.
just, right.
Do not take her
But
rehab advice, just saying.
that's right. But like, I know what my limitations are because
Yeah.
my whole intention is to get what I need out of my yoga session for that day. I have to set that intention because
Right.
I like, I like you. I'm a type A. I go for the go for the gold, right? And I can't do that because I have a knee injury. So I have
Yeah.
to stop
Take your
and
ego out of
reflect
it.
on where I am.
Mhm.
So the one thing that just keeps coming into my mind to sort of share with you all is that for me, one of my belief systems as a mom was that I believed that I had to be the very best. Like I had to, like, have my son in like karate, swimming lessons, everything, so he can be a well-rounded child, right? And I believed that he had to, go to school and do his homework and do all these things. That was my belief system
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
my belief system was that I had to be a good mom, and this is why how I was being a good mom, by forcing him into doing things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So now that I'm like, he's older and we talk about things and stuff and we laugh and sometimes not, but one of the things that I wish I would have realized and recognized is that by me needing to be the perfect mom, I lost time with him. I lost
Mhm. Mhm.
lost time, even though we had lots of time and we're very close and like we did other things, we went camping and all kinds of other things. But I lost so much time with him just to be with him and just be
Mhm. Mhm.
present and not
Mhm.
rushing him to karate or
Right.
swimming lessons or camp or whatever it was, or me going to work, right?
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so I regret that. Like that's one
Mhm.
of my things that I if I could change something from being a mom, one of them was that I feel, but
Mhm.
he says different, but I feel I wasn't present enough
Mhm.
in the moment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
And
yeah,
that
thank
was
you for
from my belief
sharing.
system.
Yeah, thank you for
Right. So
sharing. And what you were maybe raised in, so, like, we kinda take like, the environment you were in your childhood is what you believe is how the world works, right? Like, unless you see other things. And so, looking at the roles of mom and dad based on your own childhood, you might have your own opinion of what the
mhm.
mom's role should be versus the dad's role versus single parenting role. Like, what does that even look like? And like I know like my brother and I are very different.
Mhm.
I took what I saw as a child and was like, I don't really want that. I actually want different. And so
Yeah.
at some level, I've worked to create what I believe looks different. Whereas he very much that was like normal and natural. And that was just how a family system worked. And so that's what he's created, right?
Yep.
In like I don't mean to every specific detail, but just the more awareness around like the whole space of it, right? So it's very
Yep.
interesting how two people can grow up in the same house and based on your own belief system and your own just identity, right? Because we're going to come back to that and who you are
Mhm.
and your belief system is then you could choose to stay or go or have parts of it. That's what I think is great
Yeah.
too, is you can pull pieces from that experience, be like, I really loved this, but I didn't love that so much, so now I can alter that for my own, like my own life and my own environment, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah, and
And
I
again,
think,
like, yep,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Now you go.
No, no, I was just saying that, just just being aware of like coming back to what our wants and needs are, right, in
Hmm.
our life
Hmm.
is really where our belief systems is the crux of our belief system
Here we go,
is
Kelly,
that
always bringing it back.
is, is knowing what our wants and needs are, right?
Yeah.
What drives us, and then coming back to identifying like really what isn't working, and
Hmm.
are we in excess of that? Like in your case,
Hmm.
you give too much, so you're in, so you think through, because your whole part of your drive is 100% all in for me to succeed. Well, now if that's not the case. I
Hmm.
don't have to be 100% all in to succeed. I can be 100% on what I am feeling in
Hmm.
that moment and in that
Hmm.
time, and I'm
Hmm.
still all in.
Hmm.
I may not succeed today, but
Well, and what is
tomorrow,
success, right? So I think like
yeah.
what I thought success was as a child is so different now. So like, have I sat down with that idea of success and like redefined it in something that feels right for me, right? Is success like
Mhm.
having millions of dollars on a mansion and a hill, working 3 hours a week, or not at all?
I was just
And
gonna say most of it is probably, as it was for me, is materialistic.
absolutely. And so
Yeah.
now being able to sit with like what is success for me? And then am I working every day to be in that successful feeling, to feel like I'm
Yep.
succeeding in what my definition is, right? And maybe that success is being able to find, for me, because I thankfully have people like you, Kelly, ahead of me. Because I was kind of late to the parenting game, if you will. And so I had a
Mhm.
lot of friends and people around me that were having kids well before me. And I literally listened to them and took their advice about exactly what you're saying, is this idea of like going, doing. And maybe it was driven out of that perfectionism or that, ego to look at like you're the perfect parent. But at the end of
Yep.
the day, like, whoa, stop and smell the roses, stop and take a break, be present, be childlike, giggle and play. Like, so I really had to work as Cordell has grown to like scale back from my business and show up as mom more, to have what we would call maybe a balance or a homeostasis, or like harmonizing the two. And there's going to be the ebbs and the flows. Like one week, like he's off next week and I took the day off, so I'm going to spend more time as mom, and then the following, right? So there's this back and forth,
Yep.
but being able to really go, I hear what you're saying, Kelly, and I am going to work. I don't know what it looks like totally, but I'm going to work to hear you, hear what you're saying, and not fall into that. So, what does that look like for me? Yet, I would say what's been circling in my head lately is, am I doing enough, or am I almost being parent too much? So, I'm taking every day off that he has off. I took all spring break off. So, like, am I being too present? I don't even know if that's actually a thing. And then
No, but
I'm
that's in
therefore,
excess. That's in
mhm,
excess, right? And you probably are.
yeah.
You probably might want to go to karate camp for a day or
Right. So it's
something
this
different.
idea of like allowing, saying, yes, I'm here, and when I'm here, I'm present, but I want you to also experience being with so and so and doing this on your own. And like,
Yeah.
I could be at everything because I have the flexibility in my business to do so, but should I be? And I don't know. It's like this. Some days I think it's yes, and then some days I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's, or what does he need really? Because what I think he needs and what he needs might be two different things, you know?
That's the thing, right? Because our belief system is I
Mhm.
have to be the perfect mom. I have to give 110% in order to
Mhm.
succeed to be that perfect mom in this
Right,
case,
right,
right?
right,
And
right.
meanwhile, our kids are just quite happy if they have a little I love you note in their bag, or that
Right.
you pick them up after soccer practice.
Right. Totally.
right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And then that, like, so it's like an overcorrection, right? Like what I didn't have or what I did have that I want to now bring into my parenting, but now I'm
Yeah.
like almost like suffocating because I'm overdoing it because I want to look perfect. And then at the end of the day, it's like I didn't even need to do all of that.
No, and it's all our own ego, right? It's all
Hmm.
our state of mind that we believe we're supposed to be this
That's it.
person,
Hmm. Hmm.
this identity of
Hmm.
supermom, or in
Hmm.
this case, we're talking about being a mom, right?
Totally.
And it's ridiculous the amount of pressure we put on ourselves just because we created this whole persona. We're really even not.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, we are, of course, we have like some of the characteristics, but you don't have to go to that extreme. And that's where that whole excess comes into play. And it's just hilarious that one of your core beliefs, right, is that I have to give
Hmm.
110 to
Hmm.
succeed. And you
Hmm.
literally, it shows in all of your life. If you think about it, if we go over, we'll talk about it later, but we'll go over like life areas. I bet you there
Hmm.
are more things, more players in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And I
I
only
don't.
know this because I did it on myself because I'm rebranding
Hmm.
myself. I'm rebranding
Yeah, and
myself.
I don't doubt that for a second, and yeah, it's just I'm going to use the word fascinating, but to me it's never not fascinating when we really dive into the like idea behind all of these things and just
Oh yeah.
life as a whole and how what we've experienced and our belief systems how they affect our decisions or how we show up today and I think that's why it's super important to constantly be reevaluating, right? Constantly
Hmm.
be checking in with yourself, right?
Yep.
People who are trying to like bodybuild or lose weight or change their physical look, they're going to log
Yep.
things, they're going to continue to measure it. So why don't we measure it from like parenting or business or whatever that is, whatever our desire is. If we don't see, if we're
Yep.
not keeping track of it and reflecting on it, then we don't know where to make the changes. We're not seeing where we need to make the changes, or
No.
and you might make a change and it's you fail at that and that doesn't feel right. That's okay, change again. It's not like, oh, because it didn't work out, I'm just going to quit. Like, no, it's
Exactly.
just this constant
Ebb and
movement, if you
flow.
will.
Just
Yeah,
ebb
for
and flow,
sure.
right?
So hopefully you guys, having now watched the third of these, and for sorry for my squirrel brain, but at the end of the day, hopefully you guys have really been able to just really pull some tidbits on being able to reflect, realign, really sit in your identity and how you want to show up, who you want to show up as, because that person's already in you. It's just how do you need to kind of calibrate things and finagle
Yeah.
things to be that person, right? 'Cause it's already there,
Hmm.
and not letting society's boxes guide you or tell you where you need to be, but really just coming within and saying like, this is who I want to be as a parent. This is who I want to be as work or business owner. This is who this, and then what do I need to do? Am I in excess, as Kelly's saying, or am I deficient? And then how do I want to change that for each of my
Yep.
roles? Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
And just, write down a couple things in your life that aren't really working the way that you
mm,
want, if you
mm-hmm,
want to do it, and
mm-hmm,
just see why. Like, are you giving too much? You're not giving enough?
mm-hmm,
Is your whole focus, like for me with my son, is my whole focus was him all the time. And
mm-hmm.
I'm trying to adapt to letting that go. It has nothing to do with him. That's all on me,
Totally. Yeah.
not being able to, right? So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's all about us.
Self Empowering by Kelly D.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly.
Okay, well, we love you guys. We're gonna wrap this one up, and we will see you next week. So hit us up if you have any questions. We love that you're here. So thanks again for being here and being part of this crew and this community of self empowerment. So we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Ciao.